and they were all live texting the FBI going, Proud Boys didn't start it. Proud Boys didn't knock down the fence. Proud Boys didn't do it. And then those guys aren't allowed to come to trial. Then the end of the trial comes up and they go, okay, look, there was no plan. All right, we didn't see a plan, but at one point in time, you see Joe Biggs and Ethel Nordine fist bump each other, and at that point in time, through telekinesis, they shot these mind waves through the crowd, and everyone knew that there was a conspiracy. They joined it with that fist bump, and we all entered into an agreement to stop the certification of the election and overthrow the government. You can't even make this up.
All interviewers have their own style, and my style is to try to get to the point and to be intensely curious. And the key to interviewing is listening.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth, because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Sunday Sit Down. Really appreciate you joining me. Today, I'm going to be talking to a man named Joe Biggs. If you need some context, you can always go back and check out the show that we restreamed yesterday. And that was a phone call that we had from his first couple days in the DC Gulag, or at least right after his sentencing happened. And I think it's good for historical context. Joe Biggs was a Proud Boy. He's an American veteran. He's a father. And he was recently commuted from his sentence by Donald Trump. It's a hard story to hear, listening to somebody who is in a bad spot right now because he's caught between a rock and a hard place. You're going to hear the story in his own words, and I think that's really fair. Before we do, I want to talk about somebody that is supporting our ability to sit down and do these long-form conversations and give people all the time that they want to be able to share their story. And those people are Patriot Mobile. You can go to patriotmobile.com/KSS. And just because we won the election, there are still things to do, like maybe some pardons of some folks that deserve it. The fight to restore our American nation here is only beginning, and it's time to take a stand. Patriot Mobile is a way that you can do that. They are the only Christian conservative wireless provider in America, and Patriot Mobile offers you a way to vote with your wallet. You don't have to compromise on quality. You don't have to compromise on convenience. If you have cell phone service in America right now, you can get it through Patriot Mobile. They're not just giving you exceptional cell phone service, they're also going to give you US-based tech support. If you currently have wireless service for a cell phone in the United States, you can switch to Patriot Mobile, and they make it really easy. You can keep your phone, you can keep your phone number, you can get rid of it, you can upgrade. Either way, whatever you're into, if you want to make that happen, you're going to have US tech support, and you can get there by patriotmobile.com/KSS for a free month of service. Again, that promo code KSS will give you a free month of service. And if you want to call them and ask them some questions, you can do so at 972-PATRIOT. Give them our promo code KSS to make the switch today. Thanks for considering them, and thanks for standing up for freedom. Thanks for supporting the Kyle Seraphin Show. Let's get into today's guest conversation with Joe Biggs. So my guest today is Joe Biggs, and the last time I talked to him, it was on a phone, either in a jail or a prison cell. Where were you last time we spoke?
Yeah, I was at the what they like to call the DC Gulag, so that's where I was at. I got to spend a few months there after the BS sentencing.
Horrible, absolutely horrible. We had 15 minutes. We got cut off by the nice lady recording that tells you that your time is up. Obviously, your circumstances have changed. Let's refresh people with your story, because I think a lot of people probably don't know, and it's important that it doesn't go away.
Yeah, so I joined the Army after 9/11. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was in the 82nd Airborne. I was in 1st Armored Division. I got out, got into journalism. Missed the camaraderie of having, being around a bunch of guys, shooting the shit, talking, having fun. So I found out about this group, the Proud Boys, right when they first kind of started up. I met with them a few times in Austin, Texas, and I didn't like them because I thought they were very feminine, and that's just that group there in Austin. So I kind of, so I said, screw those guys, man. I don't want to be a part of that. But then I moved back to Florida. And I was like, man, these dudes are like really good, man. Like, these dudes are squared away. They're all cops and stuff like that. Former military guys. So I mean, we had like a connection, a link there. So I really delved into the whole thing then. And I worked at InfoWars for a while. I covered terrorism, riots. I was there for the Michael Brown hands up, don't shoot thing. I was there for months covering that. I was at the Bataclan Theater attacks in Paris when ISIS went. I went on raids with the police in Saint Denis when they chased the ISIS fighters all the way into Molenbeek, Belgium. So, I've been all over covering things. So I've been through hell, and I got to go through it again. So, when January 6th happened, the last thing I ever expected was that I would be framed for seditious conspiracy. We're a bunch of, fun-loving guys who like to drink beer and, maybe talk some, trash on the internet, but that's really about as far as it go. There is no seditiousness within our group, but it just shows you how far this country's fallen, and how bad things are and how corrupt it got. And now my goal is to try to educate people on what it's like on the inside when you're getting screwed over like that. And it's interesting to be able to talk to someone like you that's been on a different side of that spectrum. So that's why I really I look forward to doing this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. So I just finished talking to Stuart Rhodes. We just did this yesterday, and I spent 5 hours talking to him, which is an awful long time to talk to anybody that you never met. But the injustice of it stands out pretty aggressively. Let's talk about what elements of seditious conspiracy. How did they determine that they laid out a case that a jury could vote on? I mean, we knew it was in D.C., so I'm just.
I mean, the lawyers, the prosecutors even told our lawyers throughout the entire trial, there's no way that they could win the case unless it was in D.C. They knew they had no case whatsoever. They just knew that all they had to do was get us in front of a D.C. jury and then make that jury hate us. And that's exactly what they did. I don't recall how many times I looked over at Dominic Pizzola or Ethan Ordine and went, are we going to talk about January 6th during this trial? Because all they did was play videos of other people in street fights with people who pulled a weapon or antagonized a group, and then that person defended themselves against a group like Antifa or BLM that attacked them. And then they go, look at this. These guys are racist white people. And, you've got 90% of the jury that's black, and they're just sitting there just fomenting hate. And, we very rarely ever talked about January 6th. And when we did, there was nothing really to talk about because we didn't do anything. I walked into an open door with two girls. One of them asked me, what do you think about this? And I go, man, this is kind of awesome. I mean, didn't expect this to happen. I walk up to a cop with his arms folded. That's how scared he is of me. And I said, he goes, what can I help you with today, sir? And I go, well, I kind of go, you need to use the restroom. I need to go pee real quick. And he showed me where the restroom was. And I go with some friends. We use the restroom. We don't destroy the restroom. We don't put any graffiti on the wall. We don't steal anything. I pee and I leave. Then I realize once I get outside of the Capitol building that I can't find one of my friends. So I go back in, and open door. The cops watch me walk by. There's no push and shove. There's no anything like that. No animosity. I walk right past him. I go and look in a few doors. Don't see him and leave, and eventually run into that guy later on in the evening and link up with him. That's it. That's all that happened that day. And that somehow turned into seditious conspiracy that we somehow had planned to overthrow the government. The government had access to all communications. They used the FISA courts to spy on us. They had access to everything. And we had transcripts of everything we've said on Telegram, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, whatever it may be. And not once in 6 months leading up to that attack did any of us ever mention the words insurrection, overthrowing the government, capital, anything like that. Never. It was never mentioned at all. But still, they said day one during the trial, they said by the end of the trial, you'll see a clear plan from leadership here to overthrow the government and install Donald Trump. Then the end of the trial comes up and they go, okay, look, there was no plan. All right, we didn't see a plan. But at one point in time, you see Joe Biggs and Ethan Nordine fist bump each other. And at that point in time, through telekinesis, they shot these mind waves through the crowd, and everyone knew that there was a conspiracy. They joined it with that fist bump, and we all entered into an agreement to stop the certification of the election and overthrow the government. You can't even make this up.
No, you can't. I listened to Stuart lay out his case, and essentially they had a similar argument that when the men stacked up, that's what they called it, stacking up, but it was guys walking a straight line upstairs, that was the subliminal, subconscious agreement to enter into conspiracy That's the way that he articulated it. I sort of remember hearing that from somebody else as well, and going like, what planet are we on? And how does a jury go with that and go, okay, that's obviously beyond a reasonable doubt?
Well, it's because the judge was corrupt. I mean, the judge, his wife at the time during the trial was an assistant to Mayor Muriel Bowser. The AUSA prosecutors that were over us, prosecuting us, was his old team that he was in charge of. So it was one big hot tub, one big, just menage a trois of just the same people who have all been a part of the same thing, working together in tandem to screw us over. They all had the narrative planned out. They knew exactly what they had to do, what to say, the lies to use, and they stuck by it. And that's all they did was inflame and piss off the jury. They tried to show videos of someone hitting some person, but it was never one of us. It was never one of the 5 of us leaders, that were involved in any type of violence or anything like that. But they would show these random street fights and go, see, these guys are evil. They're mean. We've got to throw them in jail. But then the judge would go, but wait, this isn't about the Proud Boys. This is about these 5 gentlemen. So why aren't you showing anything about the 5 gentlemen sitting in front of you, and instead only showing videos of random people in street fights across the country? What does it have to do with us? But the jury sat there, hook, line, and sinker, and bought it. The foreman, the head juror, he was a trans right activist in D.C. How was that not?
What?
You can't make this stuff up at all. I mean, these guys are bigger conspiracy theorists than a lot of the bigger ones out there. It's crazy.
It's so hard to fathom. I think the craziest thing is that it seems like time might have stayed still for you guys for a little while, because you go into to prison and things are going to be kind of locked. You don't have an experience of the outside world other than what you're getting through a radio, or whether it be a wind up, or you're get some internet activity a little bit here and there, but you're not experiencing it the way everything else. And the world kind of kept moving. I want to walk back in time and kind of get mindset if it's feasible. I don't know if we can capture that, but let's go to 2020. Let's talk about the beginning of 2020 as people started talking about COVID and some of the shenanigans that went on in this country that made the Proud Boys so villainized. And maybe you can give some insight from the Proud Boys end of it, because all I remember hearing about was, Gavin McInnes had to step away from his own group, and just there was just like this full court media press looking for something that it didn't seem like actually existed.
Yeah, they liked us to be the boogeyman. That's what they wanted. They needed someone to be the bad guy, so they picked us, and they wanted us to be the face of white supremacy. But that in itself is a farce, because the person who took over after Gavin McInnes is one of my best friends, Enrique Tarrio, and he's Afro-Cuban. We have multiple guys in the club who are black, gay, Jewish. Guess what? If you want to be in the Proud Boys, you have to A, be born a man, 2, love America, and 3, get along with everybody and have a good time. That's it. We like to consider ourselves alcoholics with a patriot problem, or patriots with a alcohol problem, back and forth. But we all just like to sit around and drink and talk BS and have a good time. When the COVID thing happened, when they started forcing people in the military to take these shots, a lot of the guys would put up videos. We would talk about that. We didn't like that. We believe in dangerous freedom, the ability to make our own decisions as to what we put in our body. For me, I believe God made me the perfect just how I am. That my skin is able to stop these things from entering in it. That's why we have it. I don't need to have all this stuff. And that's just what I believe. If you want to take all these injections, that's fine. But, we don't feel that way. And that should be okay. But they like to villainize us over things like that. We didn't believe in transgender story time. We don't believe in these, dudes with these sex offender charges dressing up like women coming into our public schools and libraries talking to little children that already have charges on them against, sexual acts on children. So we had a big issue with that. That's another thing that the left didn't like, because they're all about destroying children and innocence and things like that.
What about the I don't know if it was a beef or if it was an imagined beef, but there's apparently you're kind of the rivalry or the one side of the coin, the other side of the coin. It's Proud Boys and it's Antifa, and there has to be fist thrown, there have to be words exchanged, there has to be this sort of like nemesis operation happening in places. What was that? Was that constructed? Was that real? Did that grow into something real ever?
Oh, it grew. It's grown into something very real. I mean, to a point where they have shot people and run them over. Like we will have our events, and then they would show up and become extremely psychotic and violent. They would attack Proud Boys. They would attack Trump supporters. And we saw that and said, no, we're not going to sit there and take that. We would watch on the news all the time. Trump supporters sitting outside of his rallies being jumped by Antifa. And we decided to go to these events as a whole around the country and kind of play as a security because no one else was helping them. So we decided, hey, we're a bunch of alpha men. Why not go out there? Why not say, you know what, enough is enough. Let's try to put an end to this. So that turned into a whole thing. And these people just started showing up at all these events, and they would show up trying to kill people, run them over with cars, anything they could. And then somehow the CNN and all these different agencies would say that we were the ones antagonizing, that just my coming to Portland and having an event was enough for them to be triggered and to kill us. There was no like, well, it's okay for them to have their right to free speech. Maybe let's just not go to their event and leave them alone. No, no, no. So my coming to Portland, the mayor called me out and said, you're not welcome here, Joe Biggs, and supported Antifa in trying to kill us. And that has escalated.
I'm just trying to remember what laws in America in any city allow the mayor to exclude people from visiting.
Yeah, it was him and Mayor Marty Walsh from Boston that didn't like me either. He put out a thing for me saying I wasn't welcome. I actually gave a speech at the Boston Commons with Shiva Aridari and a man who quoted Martin Luther King. And we were screamed at, and 60,000 people showed up to protest us while there was a group of maybe 30 of us. We had to be escorted out in paddy wagons through a sea of people while helicopters from news agencies flew overhead, and all you saw were thousands upon thousands of people losing their minds over us talking about freedom of speech in America.
How do we get like that in this country?
We took God out of everything. That's my opinion. Evil has completely taken over, and it has run rampant. We don't hold things that are good close to our hearts anymore. We don't value the innocence of children. We don't value the sanctity of our families and our marriages. We sit here on dating apps and we go around and do drugs and drink until we're just absolute psychotic individuals. We're too concerned with ourselves and what's easily available to please us instead of fighting for what we should be fighting for, which is our family, the future of our children, and the better of our nation.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Proud Boys have one of these sort of cardinal pillars, Western chauvinism. Western chauvinist was the thing I remember Gavin McGinnis talking about. Can you explain what? Because it sounds like that's what you just explained to me, but perhaps there's more to it, or maybe there's less to it. I don't know.
No, I mean that's it. I mean that's loving your country. That's being proud that the West is the best. That we are the forefront of doing the right thing. You know, we are a beacon. There's no one leaving America, jumping on a raft and going to Cuba and so on and going help us. It's the other way around. People come here for a better life. People come here for an opportunity to pull themselves up by their straps and do something. And anybody can come to this country, black, white, whatever, and make something of themselves and become successful business owners, entrepreneurs, fathers, mothers, whatever they want to be. That's why this place is so awesome. And that's why it's imperative that people stand up and fight for it, because this is the greatest country in the world. There's too many people here that say, oh, America sucks. America isn't great. Have you ever left where you're from, like in Portland, Oregon? Probably not. But I've been all over the world. I've been to more countries than I can even think of. My passports are stamped and booked. I've got numerous of them. I've been all over the place, and I can guarantee you everyone out there wants to be here. because it is the best, because we have the best people who are willing to fight and die for it. And that's why it is such a precious place. And that's why it deserves men and women to stand up and fight for it.
Been a bunch of places. I agree with you. It does feel like mostly people want to come to the United States if they have an opportunity. There's not a lot of second runners up. Of the places that you've visited, what are some other places that would be runners up to the United States that you would be like, yeah, this is a tolerable place to live? Where would you put down some roots if you had to? Maybe top two other alternatives.
I mean, the only way I would live in some of these other places is just for the fact that I've been through the ringer so bad that I just don't like being around people anymore, and I like to be out in kind of the wilderness, and I love to surf. I would move to Costa Rica pretty quick. I like Costa Rica.
Okay.
I like Panama. But I used to like Australia. I went to Australia when I was young, but man, they're really falling behind. And we have a chapter out there. I'm banned from New Zealand. I'm banned from Sweden. I'm banned from Canada. I'm banned from all kinds of different countries just for being someone who doesn't want children to be sexually molested by dudes dressed up like women at school story hours. Just that belief alone right there was enough to get me banned from multiple countries.
When did these bans come in effect? Was that before the conviction?
Yeah, this was like 2018. In 2018, I got banned from all social media platforms, all the banks I was in, and multiple countries. And get this, I had just landed in DC to speak at a freedom of speech event on the 4th of July at Freedom Plaza. And on the way there in the cab with my whole crew of people, I got banned. I'm trying to go live to talk about the event because I was going to be emceeing it. It was me, Gavin McGinnis, Roger Stone, all kinds of different people. And we're in the cab going up there, and I go, all right, guys, I'm on Instagram. We're going live, blah, 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 blah. Boom, zip. All right, I'm going to switch over to Facebook real quick. Zip. All right, I'm going to go to Periscope on Twitter. Gone. Then the next thing you know, my phone starts beeping. You've been banned from Airbnb. Boom. Chase Bank has just banned you. Boom. Bank of America just banned you. Boom. All of it in one day within 30 minutes.
And that was in 2018?
Yes. I just got social media back for the first time since then.
What a wild arc. Who else was getting canceled when you okay? So who else was getting canceled in 2018?
Laura Loomer
was.
Alex Jones.
Okay.
Alex Jones wanted to give me the award that he got for being the most canceled person because I think I surpassed him. I got canceled so bad they falsely charged me and convicted me of seditious conspiracy. That's how much they didn't like me or Enrique Tarrio. It blows my mind that just standing up for good, wholesome American values is enough to make you a domestic terrorist. And with that, I'm not going to lie, I kind of take that as a badge of honor. So when I was in prison, I got the word terrorist tattooed across my chest because you know what? If being a terrorist means I don't want kids to be raped, that I don't want our borders wide open, that I want, I believe in, borders, language, culture, same thing that Michael Savage always says, that I believe in God, that I believe in freedom of speech, that I believe that men should be men, that women should be women, that we shouldn't have trannies running around in our military services. If that makes me a terrorist, well, then call me Vanilla ISIS.
You look wilder than the last time that I spoke to you. You had a beard, at least the pictures that we had that were the most current before you went in. You had longer hair. Now you've got, what is this, like kind of a mohawk going on? What is that?
Yeah, the mohawk was way longer because it's kind of like you got to have like your own thing. That was my nickname in jail, was Mohawk, Trump, or Proud Boy. That's what they all called me. They loved me in there. Like people were hoping that the Antifa, the BLM, the Democrats, they were all hoping that a guy like me was going to go into prison. I was going to break down. I was going to snitch and get myself killed in prison. Instead, I went in there, and everywhere I went, everyone treated me like a god. They loved me. They respected the fact that I'm someone who knows what they believe in, that stands up for what they believe in. And I had guys who were Bloods, Crips, what do you call them? Gangster disciples, Satan disciples, Aryan Brotherhood, Texas, all these dudes that they're just crazy, hardcore, gang of guys coming up to me, shaking my hand, wanting pictures, wanting autographs, going, man, you stand for something, and that's something that we respect, and we want to know if we can join your group. And I would have black guys come to me all the time, like, can a black guy like me join the Proud Boys? I go, yeah, it's not have nothing to do with white people, you know. So what they did is they really screwed up. They gave us an opportunity, and I hate this. People always ask me, do you regret what happened? I don't regret what happened because it's given me an opportunity to learn a lot. I regret the time I missed with my daughter, you know, and that's about it. But I don't regret the fact that I got to meet all these people who now know that I'm not the person the media said I was, and that the Proud Boys are not the organization that the media has portrayed us to be. And now thousands upon thousands of individuals who have families and talk to those families on the phone all know we're good stand-up guys. And I sit here and I still stay in contact with these individuals, and I'm going to make it my life's work to help a lot of these guys that are in there that I know who shouldn't be in there, innocent people who are being held right now for crimes they didn't commit. And that's just not me listening to a story that they told me. That's me looking at the actual black and white, the actual paperwork put out by federal judges and things like that, the transcripts from their trials, knowing that they're in there right now for crimes they didn't commit. So I want to help those guys out.
It seems like they gave people on the political right, they being, I don't know, the left, the motivated media that was pushing a lot of this stuff forward, an opportunity to have a new empathy for people in the prison system. And I don't know that could have happened without January 6th. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, of course. You know, just like my mom, you know, or myself, when someone was in jail before, I used to think that anybody who was in jail was probably there because they deserved to be. You don't really understand just how corrupt the system is until you get thrown through it the way we did. When you're sitting in trial and the FBI is coming up there going, all right, we've got the evidence. It's going to get Joe Biggs right here. Here's a challenge coin by the Proud Boys. Here's a Proud Boy t-shirt we found in his house. Here's a Proud Boy flag. And here's one time that he said he didn't like Rachel Maddow. And it's like, dun, 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 evil. You know, it's like, wow, really? Like, that's what we're here doing? And the reporters would be like, man, these guys are laughing all the time. I'm like, yeah, because if I'm going to get screwed, I might as well have a good time, because I already knew that we were going to lose, because their entire goal was to piss off the jury that was mostly black. That was these guys were just going to hate us. Whatever. But I sat there every day and I would look at them and go, you guys should be embarrassed. You should be disgusted with yourselves. I don't know how you sleep at night. But we would sit there, you know, me and Enrique would take naps. So when you're at the DC courthouse in the middle of the trial, they'd have like these little 50 minutes breaks. They'd make you go down and walk through this whole area underground, and you're all shackled in your arms, your ankles, and all that stuff. And then they put you in a cell underground and leave you there for a while. So Enrique would always take naps, and I would take toilet paper and toilet paper him and cover him in that. And the other inmates were sitting there like, man, you guys are getting screwed more than anybody. You guys are having a good time. It's like, you know what? We're not going to let them break who we are. We're going to sit here with our heads held high, and we're going to survive this. And when we do survive this, we're going to come out on the other end, and we're going to show everybody in the world just how messed up it is, just how corrupt these individuals are, and just how deep it goes. And I'm glad I've been given the opportunity to come home earlier than 17 years to actually talk about this.
Yeah, I'm also glad. All of it has been really disgusting. I think it's been illuminating. I think a lot of Americans have lost faith in a ton of different institutions, to include the Justice Department and the judiciary and a bunch of other stuff. So some of this stuff is not going to hit. They're not going to be able to just get respect for what it is. I think a lot of folks, because of what happened to you guys, and I may be speculating, maybe it's just my own feelings, but I think people did have that default feeling like, oh, someone's in prison. Somebody got charged with a crime. They probably did the crime.
Yeah.
And yet we watched people who were not accused of violence being sent away for 18 years. Look, I work for the FBI. I know what 18 years is. You can engage in creating child pornography and selling it, sexually abusing children, selling it off for a profit, and not catch 18 years.
Al Capone got 11 years. I got 17. His restitution was 11,000. Mine is 3 million.
And is that gone now, or what? So what? First of all, tell people what you were actually, what did they actually convict you of? What were the charges? Because I know it wasn't just seditious conspiracy.
Yeah. So originally when they blasted my face all over the internet and said that I was one of the FBI's most wanted, I called the Daytona Beach field office and I said, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to negotiate a peaceful transfer. That way I don't have someone coming in and kicking in my door when my daughter's here. I didn't want that. So I called up there. They didn't seem to have any clue. I wasn't on the radar at all. They were like, "Oh, really? You were there? I didn't know that." And they're like, "Well, we'll give you some, I'll call you back." A couple days later, this guy calls me back. I'm not going to say his name. He goes, well, yeah, we got to bring you in. So what do you want to do? And I go, well, I don't want you coming to my house. So can I meet you somewhere down the road? So they pick me up. They go, yeah, it's going to be really chill. It's just going to be me and my partner coming to get you. And Camaro comes in all blacked out, and a Charger comes in, and an SUV and an SUV, and they all come out with guns. And I'm inside, or I'm sitting out in this parking lot in front of this gymnastics center. And I'm like, wow, I thought this was going to be pretty chill. And they're all like, "Hey, we need the safe, the code to your safe. We've got agents already going through your place right now." They ripped, like, kicked in the door, all this stuff. If they would have just told me, like, we're gonna have people go in there, I just left the door open. But they destroyed that. Went in there, just started taking everything. They took, evidence that they could use against me, which was a brand new Xbox that I had just bought for Christmas, still in the box. I'm assuming some FBI agent over there, his kid's got a brand new Xbox that they're using. That was their Christmas gift. They took just the most random stuff, like I said, Proud Boy T-shirts, Proud Boy flags that I had, like military gear that I had in my garage. I mean, I had a permit to carry. I had every right imagined, afforded to me as a retired Army veteran with a clean record, but they just took all this random stuff, and it was mind blowing. You never think that something like that can happen, and it's really amazing that, when I turned myself in, they took me down there, they arraigned me at the federal courthouse in Orlando. I get this lawyer, and he goes, "All right, the AUSA lawyer, this female, she's only going to charge you with trespassing, picketing, parading in a place for a certain amount of time. If there's no felonies." I was like, "All right, let's do this. Hell yeah." I said, "I'm glad I did this," and turned myself in. I get there, and then the lady goes, "Well, actually, we've got a 20-year count, a felony for obstruction of an official proceeding." And then that's when it was like, dun, 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 and everything changed. Everything changed. And the judge that day goes, "All right, I'm going to order you to house arrest. You're going to put on an ankle monitor, and the federal judge in DC is going to hit you up, and he's going to be taking the case over from there." So about a week later, Judge Kelly hits us up. We have a case before him. The prosecutors, Jason McCullough from AUSA in DC, they go, "Look, we've got this video of Mr. Biggs. His hand touches the fence, the same fence that 1,000 other people are touching. Then his hand comes off, and then like 10 seconds later, the fence goes down." And the judge goes, "This is stupid. He didn't knock the fence over." And he goes, "All right, he gets to stay on house arrest." So this trial, this little online hearing is over because, like you said, the COVID thing's going on. So we're doing all this stuff from our houses, just like we're doing now. Well, all of a sudden, a week later, the judge comes back with the same video and goes, "Man, you're a terrorist." He goes, "What you did that day was terrorism." And I go, "Wow, how did you go from telling the prosecutors that this was a joke, that what you just saw was not credible enough to show that I was a danger to society, that I'd done anything that was violent, and that I should be put in jail immediately?" And somehow, in my opinion, someone got to him. Someone said, "Hey, this is the game plan, and you got to change your mind." And because you don't just change your mind like that. You don't go, "This is stupid, and why are you putting this before me in the court?" To, "Wow, you're a terrorist," all of a sudden with the same video, and go to jail. So I had to stay in jail from April 20th all the way until January 20th, 3 weeks ago. And that was in
April
21.
20th of 2021.
Yep. 4 years.
What do we think? Honestly, what the hell could happen? What could someone do that would have a judge reverse? You saw it, so did he speak the same? Did he look the same?
No, I mean, he came in there with vengeance that time. The second time around, he went from basically the first time chewing out the prosecution. I was like, man, this guy's squared away. I thought, I was like, man, I think we actually got a good chance. He sees exactly what we see, that nothing happened. But then immediately, the very next hearing we had, He goes from nothing happened to that was the worst day in the world. The prosecutor said that the words coming out of my mouth was akin to like fully automatic 5.56 rounds coming out of a squad automatic weapon into a crowd of people. I mean, literally using that kind of terminology. It's frightening to think that just like that, you're at home with your family, and then you're not, and you don't know how long that's going to be, and you're thrown into an entire different type of ecosystem with an entire different type of people who don't look at the truth the same way that we do, that loyalty and integrity and things like that. These are people who have had to cheat still, not just because they would be bad people, just because they've grown up in that type of environment for so long. That's just how they are. So it's psychologically extremely draining to go into an environment where you can't trust anybody. You've constantly got to watch your back because the jealousy in people is insane. And it's just a different type of mindset. And it's hard to get used to that because here you are one day with your family, the next minute, you're in a whole different world with guys. You know, when I was in solitary confinement, I was one of the only ones that was in there for that long. I was in solitary confinement for the first 2 years of my 4-year sentence. I mean, not sentence, but the 4 years that I was in basically pre-trial. Uh, I was back there with the Lockerbie bomber. I was back there with an ISIS jihadi, a serial killer, and two MS-13 the hitman. And they would talk through the doors and go, "Why are you here?" And I would say, I'm trespassing. And that's still debatable. These
Yeah, what do
guys,
they say to that? What do these guys even say to that?
they laugh. They go, "Man, you're lying to us." And then eventually they would hear the radio and hear how I was being held in that place. And they would go, "Oh man, you weren't lying. You're here for trespassing. That sucks." And then they would laugh or whatever like that. And I go, I mean, I don't blame you. This is ridiculous. And what's crazy when you got MS-13 hitman, you know, feeling bad for you and serial killers, and you're going to trial with the Lockerbie bomber. Uh, it's yeah, it's really weird. You know,
That has to. I mean, that has to change you as a human being. And have you thought about some of the things that you don't think anymore because of that?
oh, of course. I've been telling everybody that the person who I was is dead.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to completely change. Not just for survival. You know, I don't want people to misinterpret what I was saying. You know, like I said, people respected me everywhere I went, but that still doesn't mean you're not in prison. That still doesn't mean that there are individuals there who are just psychotic lunatic nutbags who will just slice your throat if you look at them the wrong way. People were getting poisoned with fentanyl left and right. Rumor mill in these places are through the roof. If you look like you're doing just a little bit better than someone else, they will hate on you and they will steal it from you. They will try to put a knife in you. You don't say excuse me just by walking by somebody. Then they go and they look at you like, "What, am I not here? Do I not exist to you?" And the next thing you know, someone goes, "Hey man, come over here, I want to show you this." And then 4 dudes jump on you and put knives in you. It's a whole other environment, and it does change you. It changes you because you've got to survive. If you don't change, you die. You know. And I keep telling people, they're like, "Well, you could have just talked to him and it could have made your time better." No. Once you're labeled, you can't be labeled a snitch. It has to be in the paperwork. It has to be in the black and white. Once you have that on there and that you've ever cooperated or anything like that, you're dead. And if you don't get killed at the spot you're at, as soon as you get transferred, you're dead. And it's not an easy way. They're going to gut you with the most dull piece of metal that they can find that they've cut from a bump. Or they're going to throw fentanyl in something and tell you it's something else and feed you something and kill you right there. And then you sit there and laugh at you while you throw up and foam out of the mouth.
What kind of things did you see did you see? I mean, this sounds like experience that you're talking from. What kind of stuff did you see that was giving you that indication?
I got stuck in a cell with a guy that I believe is probably one of the most pure evil people I've ever met. This guy smoked meth. He was shooting up meth. I had one cellie try to eat me because he was smoking what is called deuce. I was sitting at my desk in my cell drawing, and I love to draw and paint, and I had all these art supplies, so I was sitting there and use that to occupy my time if I wasn't reading Jack Carr books or anything like that. And one day I'm just sitting there and I feel pressure on the back of my neck, and this dude is tweaking out. bite in the back of my neck because he is on this drug that's called Deuce. It is a drug that is rampant in the BOP. It is a piece of paper that is sprayed with all these different chemicals like Raid and all this, and they take a little tiny piece of paper about that big, and they wind up toilet paper and light the toilet paper until it's just burning red like a little ember. And they take that little piece of Deuce and they drop it on there and they use a straw and they huff the smoke off of it. And when they do that, everyone reacts differently because you don't know what chemicals are in there. And this dude decided to try to take a bite out of me. I had to fight for my life. I had to take the lock from my locker and bash his head in, crack his skull open, and I'm soaked in blood. He's on the ground twitching. The CO comes in. He goes, "What the hell's happening, Biggs?" I go, "Look at here." He was like, "This dude just tried to eat me." I was like, "He just took a bite out of the back of my neck," and I had to bash his head in. You don't know what that's like. You can't imagine that. You can't imagine just to sit there and then some crazy person bites you and you're not knowing that this guy's like legit, whatever's going on. So I bash his head in, and the cop looks at me and he goes, "What do you want to do?" And I go, "So I hope he's not dead." I was like, "But get the hell out of here, man, and just forget you saw it." And the dude just kind of walked off and left, but the room looked like a scene from Carrie. I had blood everywhere off him because when you hit someone's head open like that, it bleeds a lot. And there was blood everywhere. There was a lot of blood. And that dude was completely covered in it, and the walls were covered in it. And that's not something you forget. It's different. I never saw anything like that in combat.
Oh, it's so close, and I'm sure you weren't like mentally prepared for it. If you're doing art, you're probably not in fight mindset. It's a little different than prepping to go into into a conflict.
Dude, I mean, I'd keep locks and stuff in socks, just waiting, because there'd just be some people that you knew were just on edge about certain things. And if they decided to just choose to come into your room, it could be some new guy that just got to that institution, that new FCI, and he might not know who I am. So he might not know that most of these guys are going to have my back, but he's going to come try me because he sees me as just this white dude. So you got to be ready. You got to be prepared all the time because people will take your life quickly. And if you're not willing to do that, you might as well just call quits because you ain't going to come home.
Are you still pretty edgy right now?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't like going out in public at all right now. Like I used to be like up until 3 or 4 in the morning, like very socially active. And I went from being so used to overstimulation of traveling and being around people and speaking all the time and being on camera to solitary confinement. And then my first time being around people, they're all hopped up on meth and this other deuce drug, and they're just crazy, violent people. Yeah, it's it's insane, man. Like my first weekend back here, my guys, the local PBs, brought me to their a house party, and I ended up just locking myself in the bedroom and sat in there all night by myself. I couldn't do it. Couldn't be around people. It was overwhelming. It was like I have a lot of trouble right now with anxiety and being around people. I can't do it. I go to bed almost every night at 8 o'clock, but I have not slept in almost 3 weeks because my mind is just racing nonstop. Like I'm so used to being on guard and on alert that now I can't even figure out a way to like really relax and lay down and just shut my mind off. And it's hard. You've got to, it's all compounded with the fact that I didn't get a pardon. I just got my sentence commuted. And as a retired Army veteran, I was making, a certain amount of money every month, and I had full use of the VA, and now I don't. Today I tried to go to the VA just to get help because I'm at a breaking point. I need sleep. And I went up there and asked for help, and they put in my social security number, and they said that I had been court-martialed for subversion against the United States. And the guy got locked out of his computer system, and I was asked to leave. It was a little bit more harsh than that. And I put the story out about that earlier today on X, and luckily someone helped me and reached out, a local doctor, and she helped me get a prescription for some stuff that I needed to help with sleep. And I hope tonight I'll actually get sleep for the first time. But I didn't think in a million years that my country would turn on me and then I wouldn't even have access to the VA. I fought for my country. I almost died. I have Purple Hearts. I've taken shrapnel. I've had my knee replaced. I have metal in my right foot. I've been through it for this country. I did what I was supposed to do. And I didn't back out. I didn't run away like Bo Bergdahl and start snitching on my unit to the freaking Taliban. Um, and I just, it's a bittersweet thing because, I'm glad I'm home, but now I feel like a burden. And I feel like a burden because, I still have these terrorism charges on me. I can't get a job. I can't go rent a place because no one's going to rent to me. I can't even take my daughter on a field trip because my criminal record is just so insane looking that if they see that, they're just going to be like, hey, you're not even going to come pick your daughter up. So I'm walking on eggshells, man, and it's not easy. And I don't know why they haven't given us a pardon. I don't know why I don't have access to my VA benefits, but I'm just hoping that somebody will see one of these interviews and someone will have a heart. And Trump, and Pete Hegseth, somebody out there, someone will help me. And not just me, but Zachary Real and some of these other guys that were there with me that day that were veterans who didn't do anything, who didn't hurt anybody, who didn't steal anything, didn't lay a finger on anybody. We just want a chance to be able to provide for our families and have a normal life.
It seems like such a light ask, and the fact that they pulled all this stuff out, I mean, I can't think of any other word except betrayal. I mean, what else would you call that?
Yeah, it is. It really is. I don't know how you can lose benefits to something that I got because of something I did in my past. Like I fought for my country, and they owe me that. They owe me those benefits because I fought and bled and almost died numerous times. One day, September 26, 2006, on the Samara bypass, I was blown up and almost killed. I was pulled out of the vehicle, put into a convoy of Green Berets at a place called Brassfield Mora on the Samara bypass, and I was taken to the hospital. On the way to the hospital from that injury, I was blown up again. And then they started shooting at us and trying to overrun us. I've been through a lot of stuff, man, and I just want to be able to get help at a doctor when I need it. And I need it. And I wish they would help me.
What kind of information were you getting about the way politics were working when you were inside what were you thinking prior to the election as it was running up? Did you have a sense of hope then? Did you think that, what kind of mental state were you in, let's say in November of last year?
I was pretty hopeful all the way up until the point when they started trying to kill him. I'll never forget that day because we had been on lockdown for about a month or so. And they finally turned the TV on that day. It was on a Saturday, I believe. And I think it was like 5 minutes after he had already been shot. But I'm just now seeing the TV come on, and I just see a herd of Secret Service moving somebody into a vehicle and leaving. And I remember looking at one of the guy in the cell with me, and I go, oh, man, there's probably another one of those dumbass protesters running in there trying to start something. They're just getting them out of there. And then it goes back and it says attempted assassination. And I go, what? And I look and I see him standing there, and I see him turn his head and then grab his ear and drop down. And my knees just buckled. I go, oh my God, that's it. I'm done. I'm never going to go home. Because if he doesn't get in there, no one else is going to let us out. No one else is going to stand up to help us. And my heart, everything, my future, everything flashed before my eyes. I was like, I'm never going to see my kid again. I'm never going to have an opportunity to do so much things that I wanted to do. And when he got up and said, fight, 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 man, talk about inspiring and, rejuvenating. And I was so ecstatic just to see leadership like that. That's what America is. We get hit and we get back up, and we don't sit there and run off and cry. And we fight for what we believe in. And I was so positive after that. But then the way the news cycle is, it was like a month later, they were already talking about him like he was trash again. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're saying that Kamala is like smart and that she's like a good candidate. I couldn't believe it. I go, they've already shown that they're willing to do whatever they can to take this guy out. There's no way. And then the election happens, and I go, stay inside, dude. Stop freaking talking to people. Just stay somewhere and hide until you can get into your job because I want to go home. So do my buddies. Like, you got all these people so dependent upon you just getting there alive. And I remember being on the phone and my mom saying, hey, they just tried to kill him again. And but at the golf course that I go to all the time. And I go, you just can't believe it. And then you start hearing the stuff about Butler, and you start hearing the fact that everybody saw this dude walking around with a rangefinder, and that there was just no communication between Secret Service and the local police, and it was just these different egos playing, and you had these new Secret Service agents in there that watched a video on how to do a presidential protection detail. Like, what in the hell is going on? So my faith in any type of system within the government has been shattered. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe anything now because I had so much bad happen to me for so long that it's hard for me to believe that anything good could ever happen. And I got to a point that I didn't think that I was ever gonna get home. Even after he won the election, I still just didn't believe it. I remember the night he won, everybody was coming up to me and going, pat me on the back, man, that's it. And I go, it's not it, man. I said, they're already trying to kill him. I said, and then Iran's got a hit on him. I was like, there's no way. There's no freaking way because he is surrounded by morons, people who are part of the La Resistance and care more about, Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and, all this other crap and not enough about saving this country. I just didn't have any faith anymore. And it was hard. It was a struggle. And even on the 20th, on inauguration day, the captain of the compound that I was at in Talladega FCI in Alabama, I get called at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the captain, this black guy, he goes, I need an address that you could go home to if you were to go home. Apparently your boy won and thinks he has enough power to get you out. He goes, you're not going to leave. I just want you to know. But if you were to go, where would you go? And I give him an address where I'm going. And he goes, I hope you never get out. He goes, I hope you stay in jail and you rot there for the rest of your life. He goes, I hate you. And then he just turned around and left. And I'm just sitting there shocked. And then he comes back and he goes, why are you still here? Take your white supremacist ass back to your cell. Lock the door. You're not leaving. Bye. And 8:30 at night, one of the COs comes up to me and goes, the administration just called. They called the warden, said, you've got to leave right now. Get your stuff together. Like, you just
Shit.
don't. I mean, earlier I'm just being told, screw you. I hope you stay in here forever. And then all of a sudden they're rushing to get me out. And then I'm like, man, still something stupid's going to happen. I know it. Something's going to get screwed up. And sure enough, as soon as I get into the office for it's called R&D, release and departure, I'm filling all this paperwork, and that same cop comes back and he goes, he goes, guess what? You're not getting a pardon, dude. And he goes, you're just getting your sentence commuted. He's like, good luck out there, and just like laughs and turns away and leaves. Yeah.
That's crazy. Everything about that is crazy. And then what? Where did you go? You're released at 8 o'clock at night?
No, it took until 11:30 or 12 around midnight because I didn't get a pardon. So because of that, the federal judges, Judge Ahmet Mehta and Kelly and all them, still part of the resistance, decided to put us on uh, restrictions like we had to do probation. They didn't really care that the commutation meant that everything was over, which is your sentence, you've served your time, which means there's no probation. So we had to sit there and wait on this process to play out where they, at the middle of the night, contact the probation offices across the country for the 14 or 15 of us that didn't get pardoned. And that was a nightmare to sit here and go back and forth and wait on the stupid paperwork. And then I finally get contacted by the probation officer down in Florida, and she's saying, you didn't get a pardon and you're on probation, and ha 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 ha, and all just laughing and having a good time. And she goes, you're not going to get a pardon. You're never going to get a pardon. And she's like, you're going to be stuck on this stuff for years and years and years, and we're always going to have control over you. And ha 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 ha. And then finally, 2 weeks later, about a week and a half ago, she calls me and goes, well, I'm sorry. I hope there's no hard feelings. Good luck out there. And they release me because I should have never been on probation in the first place. But they were threatening that if we were to do anything or, break any of these rules, they wouldn't tell us what they were. They would throw us back in jail. So I was a nervous wreck. And it's just like, it's so hard to believe anything is going to happen because all this dumb crap keeps happening. It's just frustrating.
And that was only what, a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So what have you been doing for the last 2 weeks? What, as you're free, you have incremental freedom, but you're free. What are you spending your time doing?
Well, I tried to go get a house. As soon as I wrote the person on the 21st century, real estate thing, you put in your name. I got hit back up around 9 o'clock that night. And the lady, the real estate agent goes, "Are you Joe Biggs, the insurrectionist? F you. You're not going to get a place." So I go, okay, well, that's how this is going to go now. Great. So then after that, I just kind of said, you know what? I'm just going to have to wait a little while to see what happens. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I can't do anything. I'm here, but that's it. I feel like a burden. And it sucks because I could be out there doing stuff and I could be providing and I could be speaking to people and traveling around. And I'm still considered a terrorist. And I will be flying to DC next week to CPAC, but stay tuned because I don't know what that's going to be like to try to fly while you still have all this on your record. I hear it's not a very fun process, and you go into the counter, you check in, they come and swarm you with federal agents, they take you into the back and interrogate you, strip you down, search you, escort you through TSA, strip you down, search you, escort you to the door of the plane, search you, escort you onto the plane, search you. You fly, you land, you're brought off the plane at the door, searched, brought into a back room and searched, brought up to the front and searched, and then allowed to leave.
Yeah. So you've been hearing people who are on the Quiet Skies, the Quad S list, and some of the experiences they've had, and that's what you're looking at.
Yeah. But we live to fight another day.
Indeed. I've got some people I want to introduce you to, especially people in Florida who might be able to help mitigate some of that stuff because we've got some contacts for that. I mean, this is stuff that's been going on while you're on the other end of it. This is the war that people have been dealing with on the outside, much less involved than being in prison, obviously. But this harassment is wild. Is there any contact with folks that are in who handles this? Just the White House? Is that who?
I mean, really, that's it. I mean, it's like I said, I hate to seem like this negative Nancy, and everybody keeps saying hold the faith, but I don't know what have I been doing for the last 4 years? I hear them come out and go, well, we might be thinking about giving Rod Blagojevich a pardon, and then the next day, all right, he's pardoned, he's free now to run for mayor again. And I'm sitting here going, like, if the process is that easy, why am I still sitting here as a veteran who fought for my country and watched my friends die in front of me and almost died? Why can't I just have a snap of a finger and have my stuff wiped because I didn't do anything? All you had to do was be there at the trial. I wish we could go back and televise. I mean, that's the reason they don't like to film and allow cameras into the federal trials, because it is so corrupt. If people could have seen, if the world could have seen the Proud Boys trial, they would have had zero faith in our institutions whatsoever, because it was such a joke. It was such a joke and such a waste of money and so ridiculous.
I just hope. Where are the FBI agents? Where were they from that were testifying against you?
One of them was a local one here. Another was a local one from where Dominic lived. The other one from where Enrique lived. Another one from where Zach lived. And the only thing they brought into the fray was like, oh, they had a Proud Boys flag or a T-shirt, and it's like, ooh, oh my God, they're so scary. We had to listen to them constantly say that 5 police officers were killed that day, which is just false. It even, what's kind of surprising is even Wikipedia updated and says like 5 protesters were killed that day, but no cops were killed that day. And they finally switched it on there. But you couldn't be honest about it during the trial when our lives were on the line. That didn't matter, no, because you have a narrative, so it's a process, and I want to get my hope back, and I want to have faith in my country, but right now it's shot. That's just being honest.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Because I'm seeing people get pardoned left and right now. And they're saying, well, it's going to be a process with you, man. I'm like, really? Because these other people I'm watching on TV every day, there's a new pardon of somebody coming out. And they the day before was like, well, we don't know if we're going to do this. And then the next day it's like they're on freaking news everywhere, hugging their family, getting back to life. And here I'm still sitting here twiddling my thumbs going, hello, did you guys forget about us? I don't get it. Like, why are we being treated differently?
All right, we're going to take a quick break and say thanks to the folks at Patriot Mobile who keep this program on the air, particularly on this Sunday. If you're looking down at your phone and that's where you're watching us, remember, you can switch to an American cell phone provider that also has the same values that you do. People that care about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, care about the sanctity of life, our veterans, our first responders. They care about people like Joe Biggs. It's patriotmobile.com/KSS. Again, KSS is the promo code. You can call them if you want. It's 972-PATRIOT. Very easy to get there. And you're going to get a free month of service with our promo code when you decide to switch today. They're on all the major wireless networks. So if you currently have cell phone service in America, you can get it through Patriot Mobile. Again, patriotmobile.com/KSS. Check them out right after we're done here. There's going to be a link in the show descriptions, or call them up at 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code KSS. That's Kilo Sierra Sierra for those of you who like the phonetic alphabet. Pick up a company that cares about the things you do, that supports this Kyle Seraphin show. We're really grateful for them sponsoring our program. If you guys want to do a switch, now's the time you can do it. Check out patriotmobile.com. We're going to get right back into this conversation with Joe.
Yeah, why? I'm also trying to work through it. Is there a logic, or I mean, there's got to be attorneys that are talking to you about what they think is happening. What's the speculation?
No, they have no idea. It doesn't make any sense to them. Our lawyers are completely dumbfounded by this. There's no legitimate reason, because there were people who were actually violent and actually maybe stole or property destruction that day. Free and clear, charge his wife like it never happened, expunged. They could go out and do whatever they want. They could go to the gun range tomorrow and go buy guns. I can't do anything. And all I did was walk into an open door with two hot Italian chicks, go take a piss, and leave. And I'm somehow scary Batman.
If Trump strokes out a pardon, you get the paper. Does that give you opportunity to reapply and get your VA benefits? What is do you have any idea what that looks like?
Yes.
And how do they even pull that away? I guess I've heard this happen. I don't know why, and I don't understand how, but maybe you can tell me.
So the only way for me to get back my benefits as someone who was charged with seditious conspiracy is to have a full, no strings attached, full forgiveness presidential pardon. That is the only way. And the way that it is set up right now is if we get the pardon, then it can go to people like Ed Martin and those in D.C. and get our records expunged. But we have to have that pardon. I don't know why that's a thing, but in order for me to get my life back, I've got to get that. And, I am very bitter, and I'm just, it just sucks because, everybody in my family is just like, how can they take something from you that you already fought and almost died for? You're dealing with enough stuff from that already as it is. I had enough to write a book about before January 6th. I mean, come on now. And I don't care about that. I just want my life back. I want to be able to go to the VA and seek help and be able to sleep at night and just enjoy being home with my family. And I cannot do that right now.
I imagine not. Have there been any offers to tell your story, write a book, this sort of thing? Is that been approached? Have anybody kind of thought about that?
I've had a few filmmakers that I personally know just kind of say they're interested. I've had one publication, I don't remember the name of it because I wasn't expecting the call. So it just kind of came out of nowhere that they were interested in possibly doing a book with the five of us and then a joint one as well. But I haven't heard anything back from them. Right now, I'm kind of just getting ready for DC and hoping that I can get through that without, them trying to throw me in jail again. I should be able to travel around the country. I fought for this nation. I should be able to be welcomed in DC or Portland or Boston or Tampa Bay or, wherever, Butte, Montana. It shouldn't matter. I should be able to go there and hang out and have the same freedoms as anyone else. And that's just all I want. So
Are you speaking at CPAC, or were you invited to do anything there?
I think the only way they'll let us do it is if it's like one of those like really weird fringe side, rooms where they have like the smallest room possible. But, one thing that Enrique and I have is the ability to get the attention of the media in really fantastic ways. So I think I have some ideas. We'll see what
Okay.
happens.
Yeah, indeed. And do you think that being as public as possible and keeping your name out there as frequently as possible is really your only path to stimulate this positive outcome?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm afraid that if I am not like I've tried to reach out to everybody on every network you can imagine of Newsmax, America's Voice. I have not gotten a response from anybody. Before this, these people were constantly beating down my door, wanting me to come on and talk about stuff because I would come on as like a war correspondent. I would come on and talk about the border. But then this thing happened, and it's like the same people who say that they support us won't even take my calls or answer my emails. So I want to be in front of the camera as much as I can, talking about prison reform, talking about what it's like to go through this experience as much as I can, because I feel like if I don't have that opportunity, I will be forgotten. That Zachary Real will be forgotten, that Dominic Pizzola will be forgotten, that Ethan Nordine and many others, Stuart Rhodes, that will be just left in the dust to rot and be burdens. And I know it sounds all booey hooey, but that's really what it is. Like my family needs me to be able to be the provider that I am. I am a single father and I have a mother and a 7-year-old daughter. That's it. That's my family. That's my circle. That's all I got. And I need to be there for them. So I'm hoping this will help me. I'm hoping that someone will see this and they will go, that sucks. That's crazy. That shouldn't be happening. This is horrendous. This is an atrocity. Let's help these guys. So please help us.
Who is your elected representative? Who's your congressman and where you're living right now?
Well, it was Michael Waltz, and now he is kind of busy with a new job. We both have a very mutual friend. I've been to his book signings before, but he is no longer the congressman here. There's someone else, and I have been gone for so long, I don't really know the ins and outs of Florida politics outside of Ron DeSantis being the governor. So I've got to do some delving into that and figure out who I have here in Volusia County and who I can reach out to talk to.
Yeah. Is there an angle that like a strategy, some sort of legal strategy? Somebody was speculating that maybe keeping some of the a handful of you all on commutation instead of pardons was because they wanted to do something to change the way that the system worked there. But I can't figure out what the hell that is and why people keep speculating. People said the same thing to Stuart Rhodes, and he doesn't seem to have an answer. Nobody's explained that to you, that there may be some angle?
No, I have no idea. Like I said, I just don't have faith right now. I hope that these people pull through and they do what they said they were going to do, that they were going to pardon us and give us our military benefits back. And I'm just waiting around for that. I've talked to lawyers. No one can really get an idea as to why we've been singled out for all this. And I just don't really have an answer for that. It's just that we're stuck in this limbo and we're hoping that maybe someone will see this and go, okay, this is horrible. Let's help them. But it hasn't happened yet. So I'm hoping someone will see this interview or Stewart's and they will take a look and finally do the right thing for us, because we definitely deserve it.
Yeah, I'm flabbergasted. I mean, I don't have a lot of questions or difficulty forming questions, but I'm sitting here in my brain and I'm listening to your story and I'm hearing the fact pattern is absurd. The things that happened are crazy. They've been crazy. We've had 5 years of crazy. And the other thing is, and I don't know if you're even aware of this, but there were people that were talking in the political circles. They didn't want to come talk to me because I hurt people's feelings. They didn't want to come talk to you guys because January 6th was a losing issue. And that's what we were told, that politically was a losing issue. So they didn't want to bring up these things. But all that stuff's in the past now at this point. The issue is irrelevant. And it's not like you're going to be able to stop the electivity, the future election of Donald Trump. This is it. He's got one shot. He can do anything he wants.
Yeah,
And
exactly. That's what I don't understand.
We just watched Joe Biden pardon his entire family preemptively without ever being charged for anything. So what kind of political capital would you be spending to take a couple of military veterans and give them back their benefits and say, hey, you can go out there and own firearms, and you didn't get accused of anything violent? And there was absolute bullshit that happened in Washington, D.C., which is why they're considering. I mean, how do you react to people saying that they're thinking about prosecuting, assistant United States attorneys going after, FBI agents? How does that sit with you? Or do you even care?
I just, right now, I'm just focused on me and my family. I'm going to be honest, I'm being selfish. And I mean, it's not being selfish because, I've been told, this is what he goes. He goes, we're going to get him. He goes, the Proud Boys didn't do anything wrong. He goes, they should be full pardon, and we're going to do it for him day one. And I'm waiting. And I'm happy that I'm out. But it's such a double-edged sword that we are out, and there's nothing we can do. We can't get a place. We can't get a job. We can't provide for our family. I can't even go get seen at the doctor. I can't do anything. I walk around everywhere, and everyone knows who I am, and you love me or hate me, but that still doesn't put food on the table. That still doesn't put insurance on my vehicles. That still doesn't help me get a home for my daughter. It doesn't help me do anything until I get that pardon that everybody else seems to be getting that over the last few days. Everybody's coming out of the woodwork, getting a pardon, asking for one, getting one. But for some reason, we can't. So
yeah,
that's all I know.
I don't want to belabor the question because it just seems like it's such a simple solution, and I really empathize with this problem. I don't. It feels like some things just got left behind, and
like you said,
a few people.
Like you said, this isn't going to affect his career. I could understand.
No, it can't. It can't cost anybody anything at this point.
We're dismantling all this corruption in the government, but we're worried about, oh my God, Joe Biggs just got a full pardon. No, okay. I mean,
it won't even make it through. It won't even make it through 12 hours of the news cycle.
No,
I can just tell you right now.
It'll be gone.
Having watched it for the last couple of years, it'll be a blip on the radar. I just watched Tulsi Gabbard, who was apparently a huge problem, and she was confirmed, and it didn't even get reported for the first couple hours because people have already, they're dealing with other stuff. They're talking about hairy balls and big balls, and we're just in such a goofy moment, which, by the way, that's very funny. Like, there's nothing more American than that, than trolling the media with balls jokes. That makes me happy. But there's an awful lot of injustice that just has not been corrected still. And I'm with you. I don't want to see it fall. I have this long memory on it. While we're thinking about the injustice piece of it, let me ask you if you don't mind being specific. Who are the biggest villains in your saga? The people that have really done some things that were wrong, that acted in bad faith, and if you can kind of highlight any of them, I'd be really interested to know whether it was media that was calling it ugly, or whether there are people that were in the legal system. Just, I'd love to know what they're about and who they are.
Well, I would say first and foremost, I think it all comes down to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I think they were the ringleaders behind a lot of this. Mayor Muriel Bowser. Both these people denied National Guard going that day. Trump asked for all that. It's like they wanted something to happen. They had these fake bombs set up at the RNC in DC, but they didn't need it because they had so many undercovers. There were like 50 undercover federal agents just within our group. And they were all live texting the FBI going, Proud Boys didn't start it. Proud Boys didn't knock down the fence. Proud Boys didn't do it. And then those guys aren't allowed to come to trial. So, you've got the higher ups in the FBI that have completely just crapped all over the Constitution and all over our rights. You have people like Jason McCullough. You have people like our judge that just sat there and cucked out to the Democrats and everything they wanted and played right along with it, knowing that everything was a lie. To me, that's the scariest thing. is that these federal judges should be fired. They should be removed. And these types of people should not be allowed to sit on benches like that and hold people's lives in their hands, because what they did is disgusting. And it is more un-American than anything happened on January 6th.
Yeah, it does seem like there's at least a sense that people are getting that these guys are really a problem, that there's a serious problem in the judiciary, that the inferior judges they're overstepping and they're not acting honestly. I mean, I don't know anybody who covered any of the J6 stuff, and I talked to Steve Baker pretty extensively, and he went to a number of trials, and he's working for the Blaze right now. Was charged himself, and at the same time, he's like, these people, they're partisan. They're weighing in on it. There's no blind justice in that case, and they're just revealing the truth to people. Which, like I said, it's making conservative people who generally support law enforcement, who generally are pro judiciary and think that if you're there, you probably deserve it. And a lot of people are starting to open their mind up and go, holy crap, how biased is this? How unfair is this system?
The worst, even the scarier part is I've never owed more than 1,000 or so in taxes ever. As soon as I left, the IRS started charging my mother $17,000 a year. They were extorting her, saying that I owed that much money. The VA is claiming that we owed thousands and thousands of dollars. And my mom was scared, didn't know what to do, and was paying all this stuff off. And I've never owed this kind of money before in my life to these people. And all of a sudden they're coming after her. And, it's put her through a lot of stuff. And, it's just it's sick and disgusting. And I hope that we can get this rectified and move on and continue to dismantle the corruption and help bring this country back to the greatness it deserves to be.
Your mom and your daughter are the two people in your circle, you said right now. How's your daughter handling all this?
If I walk out of the house to go to the store, she freaks out and thinks that I'm never going to come back again. She has massive PTSD from that. She thinks that anytime I leave now, that I might not ever come back in that door again for a long, long time. And she clams up and gets super anxious and has anxiety now because of that. For the first 2 years that I was gone, I found out that she would not sleep unless there was a framed photo of me in the bed with her, and she would hold it. And that was just her only way to have a father. So I'm really pissed off about that.
I am also pissed off about that now.
Yeah.
Has she been talking to anybody? Has she been seeing anybody to try to help get through this? Or you guys are just pushing through with...
We're just, I sit there with her and look at her and try to just get her to understand that, I'm not going anywhere, and that I just need to go to the store. And, it's baby steps. It's not easy. It's been a struggle because she's had her trust, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, just that safety net of having a dad was stripped from her for so long. And now that I'm back, she, for the first time in school, has a dad, it's just this whole new process that we have to go through. I have to, I left her at 3 and she's about to turn 8. So it's been a long time. So it is a process and we will get through it. But, damn these people for putting my little girl through that. And I hope that this is something that she will be able to push through later.
I do as well. That's my oldest, Sage. She's the same. I've got 3 daughters, and my oldest is, so I can just picture that. I know exactly what those stages are. I also know what you missed.
Yeah, I mean,
just brutal.
Everybody goes, "Oh my God, the Proud Boy cried." Like, yeah, when I was sentenced, had nothing to do with the fact that, oh my God, I'm going to prison. It's like, my little girl is not going to have a dad to take her to school. And if I'm gone for 17 years, in that moment, I thought, the most positive thing in my life is gone now. I'm not going to see her go to prom. I'm not going to see her do a lot of stuff. And that really, really, really hurt me inside. I mean, you can throw me in a hole for another 2 years. I'd rather experience that than ever have to just have that feeling of, what I felt that day, knowing that I might not ever see her again. That's not easy. It's not something that's fun to think about. So,
It's horrible, man.
yeah.
It's just awful. What can people add to this? Because I think a lot of people are going to have the same sense of injustice. They're going to want to be able to do something. I don't know that a lot of us know what that thing is. Does there need to be a letter writing campaign? Obviously there's certain contacts that I'm going to try to contact, whether they care what Kyle Seraphin has to say or not. I have no idea, but I'm willing to make the calls. But I'm wondering if there's a groundswell of people that some of these injustices have to be fixed for this country to heal in any way.
That's what the left does. That's one thing that's always interesting. When the left gets behind something, they all toe the line and they get behind it and they all fight for it, and it happens. On the right,
Yep.
we bicker and we infight and we point fingers and blame, and I disagree with you and I disagree with this. We need to pull our heads out of our asses and we need to get behind the people that need to get their lives back together. So yeah, I think people should be writing letters in mass. They should be calling in mass. I want politicians' ears ringing with our names. I want them to be so sick of it. They go, President Trump, just pardon them so we can move on. That's it. Just anything people can do to help us. I hate asking people for donations, but I have a website, freejoebigs.com, and you can donate if you feel it in your heart that you want to do that. I've always been someone that likes to do things on my own, but I don't have the ability. And if you can do it, that's great. If not, I understand. If you want to pray, that's fine as well. But we need people to hear this, and we need people to care. And I want people to have a heart. If not for me, for little Savannah. So that's all I got.
I think that's fair. I think it's a perfectly reasonable position to be in, to have a lot of doubt right now, and I don't blame you. The other thing is, I'm just thinking of, I've talked to other folks, and you guys are in such a unique situation, having been let out so abruptly. Most people transition to some kind of a halfway house situation. They have like a work release or whatever it is. There's some kind of program that it kind of, and anybody you talk to that's gone through those tells you, like, they go through all kinds of stages of paranoia and anxiety, and they don't know how to adapt, and that's part of the reason why that stuff is useful, and they slowly integrate themselves back in, because 4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't get that.
You come out of the military and you're not normal because you've been associated with something else, and you got to have an adaptation there, and even then you were free. You may have officers, but
this feels way harder. After years of combat, you come back and it's like, all right, I went and fought a war. Obviously, I'm not now, but I've been in a different war for the last 4 years. I'm a physical war, psychological war. The psychological torture I've been put through in the last 4 years is like, just, it would blow your mind. And it's like you said, we're not getting that help that everyone else gets when they come out of that situation. We're just thrown out here with a muzzle, our hands tied, our feet tied, and we're told, good luck. It just kind of like a slap in the face. It's like, well, you should be happy you're home. You should be happy with your daughter. Well, yeah, I am happy, but it's still not having my life. I still feel like a prisoner. I still feel like I'm unable to just shed what everyone else is. Everyone else that got that pardon can just celebrate and let loose and clear their mind, and I still have to live in this prison mentality right now because I don't have the freedom. It's a fake freedom.
Yeah, it's still following you. All of this.
Yeah. I just want to let it all go. I was so happy that day on the 20th when he was inaugurated that I thought I could finally just let all this go, this burden, this everything off of my shoulders, and finally just relax and be happy. And it's a slap in the face. It's another betrayal.
Yeah.
So
I don't think your story's over. I think this has been a really interesting redemption arc for a lot of this stuff. I think that if you had asked me 6 months ago if we were going to be sitting here, I would have said no. I'm a pessimist, and I have not had a lot of faith that any of these things were going to come to pass. I didn't even think we were going to have an election. So between the two of us, and everybody who listens to my audience has heard me say it, I thought there were more shenanigans afoot, and we were about to get deeper and darker. I still think it's going to get weird for another 6 to 18 months in this country, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be a free man if you're really a free man. And so I will. You got me, and probably everybody who's listening to this in your corner. I think that nobody can hear your story and think otherwise. And the saddest thing is that, like you say, they let out people who legitimately probably deserved a little bit of time in prison, fighting cops, hitting cops, getting into, altercations that were physical and violence against folks that we generally don't think should be. If you're a federal officer doing your job, you shouldn't be punched in the line of duty. And at the same time, you guys didn't have that accusation. And I saw the same thing. And I just talked to Stuart Rhodes, and, no violence alleged there either. And it's just the craziest moment to look at a justice system that decided to go after a bunch of guys. And then for those to be the people who have been held out and said, you're not going to get the pardon. Meanwhile, people who took swings, stole things, broke stuff.
Think about this. In prison, there's a point system. All right. Okay. So depending upon your points, depends upon the chain of custody you're in. So that'd be a camp, a low, a medium, a penitentiary. From 0 points to 15 points is a camp. I had 9 points, and I was at a medium high. I'm there with straight up murderers and killers and terrorists and serial killers and child rapists and Super Bowl winners who are rapists and all this stuff and Lockerbie bombers. And it's like you go every 6 months for like this report card and this update, and it goes violence extremely low. They see me as a extremely low threat across the board. I shouldn't even be there. If something would have happened to me, I should be able to sue the hell out of those people, because I should have never even been around those people. I should have been at some Pensacola camp in Florida, just chilling around, waiting to be able to talk to my family whenever I want to and FaceTime them like they do on these tablets. But I ain't getting none of that. I was constantly in the hole. I was constantly getting screwed with. I was constantly being psychologically tortured by the police in there, saying that, hey, screw you. We're going to get you a child porn. We're going to say that we found hard drives in your cell, that you were holding this kind of stuff, just to screw with you. They did that to me this past Thanksgiving. I lost my mind. I go, what? I could never do something like that. And they come up to me on Thanksgiving and going, we're going to get you with this, and laughing and joking and say, everybody, all the cops are saying that this kind of stuff's going on, man. What's going on with you? Blah, 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 blah. And then I go to the higher ups and I go, how can this be a thing? Like, how can you guys just falsely accuse people of stuff like this? And they're like, oh man, they're just screwing with you. And I go, like, that's not screwing with somebody, especially when they've been through what they've been through. Like, that's just so messed up. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really dark.
Yeah.
Well, you've got an advocate at this program. You always have an open door to come back and talk with me and talk to the audience here. And, we're not the biggest show in the world, but we got some pretty dedicated people that have a lot of big hearts. And I think we're going to start writing some letters. I think that's the thing, pen to paper, and we need to make this thing move. This has got to stop. And again, it doesn't cost him anything. So I'd like to see people, folks, if you're listening to this and you have it in your heart, you need to write to your reps, especially if they're Republicans, and you need to be writing to Donald Trump. You can write to the White House. You'll find this kind of amusing. I found letters, Joe, when I was working for the Bureau, that had been written to the White House under George Bush, and they were in files that the FBI had forever, and they had nothing to do with anything. They just had somebody's name in it, and it was a person that I might have been investigating. So I went looking for it, and I found out that the White House would get letters, and they would log them, and they, somebody writes a letter, it goes somewhere. So it has to be no emails, no bullshit, change.org nonsense, like legit piece of paper, stamp, envelope, send these things off. Let's move the needle on this. I don't think your story's over though, my friend. I don't think it's over yet.
And I hope not,
hang in there,
because
but
It's not for selfish reasons either. Like I said, I met a lot of good guys in there who have been there since the 80s and 90s in prison for crimes they did not commit. And I need my rights back. I need my life back so I can fight for these men because they've been waiting. I only had to go through this for 4 years. These guys have been going through this for 30 something years. And that really hurts too, because I made them promises. I thought that I was going to get a pardon. I thought I was going to be able to go out and hit the circuit and start traveling and speaking and fighting for these men and their families. And their families are begging me every day, come on, are you going to help us? And I have that stress too. So please please get the help we need. Please do whatever you can to reach the president, to reach, the Secretary of Defense, any of these individuals, the new head of the VA. We need our lives back because I personally want to help these guys get home. And that's my new goal.
Yep. What's the new social media now that you're back on? Tell what it is so we can start building that following again. Let people have a chance to hear you.
Yeah. So on X, it's at Real Joe Biggs, and that's just kind of like my main thing. The other stuff I just keep for just like friends and family. But as far as like what I do out here, activism, journalism, things like that, I stick to X. So you can find me there, follow me there, and then go to freejoebiggs.com. You can get kind of a more in-depth story on my personal story, and then also you can share it at and help me and my family in any way that you see fit. And we thank you for that. We appreciate the opportunity to come in here and speak and to tell my side of what's going on and to speak about everything that I've been through. And thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. The link will be in the show description below, folks. So it's in the notes, and you guys will find it right down there. And we'll tag the social media handle as well. Biggs, Biggs, Real Joe Biggs. All right, bud. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
We're going to connect again when this thing is better, because I think it is going to get better.
All right, man. I thank you.
You bet.
And that is our Sunday sit down with Joe Biggs. Say a prayer for Joe today. Everybody needs a little bit of help. And I think that you can tell there's a lot of pain right there. And there's some solutions that are well within the grasp of our political elite. So I hope that people like Donald Trump hear that plea. And from your hearts to God, from God down to inspire the man leading this country, would cost him very little. And I'd like to see it happen. And one father just looking out for another father out there in the world. Thanks for joining us. I really do appreciate you guys being part of the program. It is great to have you along. And if you're watching this at any point during the week, consider sharing it with somebody who might need to hear it, somebody who might need to know another story, or have an opportunity to listen to us that hasn't done it before. The easiest way you can support our program is actually sharing the links. You can watch us on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. We go live on Sundays with this particular version. Otherwise, we're live at 0930 Eastern time every morning. And if you're not going to listen to us live, check us out on Spotify. It's free. It's easy. You can find a cheat code link. Just go to KyleSeraphinShow.com. It'll pull up Spotify. The app is free and watching us is free. And there's also no ads on it other than the ones I read right here. So you can avoid all of the interruptions. Again, it's at Spotify. Check us out there. Thanks so much for joining us. God bless you. We'll look forward to seeing you again on Monday.
Thank you for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.